While we think that most teachers will follow the organization and structure of the book as it's laid out, because it is aligned to the 9 units in the College Board's AP framework, we wanted to give teachers options. So we were very mindful from day one when we began creating this text that not all teachers will follow the College Board framework. For those who do, you'll see that structure and that organization in an obvious way right when you look at the table of contents. But for teachers who use a different approach, they will be able to consider through that American Lit lens, a chronological approach, and you can see that built through the 9 units. For teachers who like to teach around the modes or methods of development, you'll be able to see that each of the units is also tied to one of the modes or methods of development. So for teachers who organize that way, they'll be able to plan and pace their course in that sequence. For teachers who like more of a thematic approach, they'll look at the idea sets that we've created, because they're very similar to themes, but they focus on larger concepts. But teachers will be able to organize their course that way. So while there is a preliminary and primary organization that's aligned to the framework, we were mindful that we wanted to build a book that was flexible for teachers who had their own approach and wanted to use the book in a different way in their classrooms.
We also understand that teachers have to assess their own environment, and there are times when they realize, as far as pacing goes, that we might need to spend a little bit less time on this particular skill and concept and more on another. Some might need some reteaching. And so we have some supports, graphic organizers, and instructional text that will help those teachers to help the students to fill in the gaps of their learning, or in the middle section, a lot of times to take those high flyers in the class a little deeper while other students might need some catching up. So there's questions that are designed to put it all together and to dig a little bit deeper within the structure of a particular unit.
I think that we really kept scaffolding and spiraling in mind. We have reference tables. We have, as Liz mentioned, instructional tools and strategies and graphic organizers to help students through the process. I think what's most important is that if you're working with AP Classroom, this textbook you can take the PPCs, the personal progress checks, and you can actually identify the skill that a student might be struggling with and go back into our first section, our reading workshops, and target that skill again. Maybe you skipped a text later in the middle section and you say, well, you need a little more work with that. I'm going to pull that one, and we're going to go back and look at these charts and look at these instructional tools that we offer to bring that student back to where they need to be.
When we were as classroom teachers and we were looking for instructional texts ourselves to use with our students, we see really quickly that there's a gap in the market, what's available for teachers. Most of the textbooks that are available are organized with themes, or they expect students to understand the skills up front and then practice them immediately and know everything all at once. So we've been very, very thoughtful and very, very conscious of making sure that we build student success by what is known in the teaching profession as gradual release. Building that success one block at a time, each piece, and gradually adding, while at the same time being very mindful that students need to talk about what's important in the world, issues that matter. And that's where these ideas come up and resonate. But in a course that was designed to teach students to develop and build their own arguments, we put that skill development at the front of our course. It's at the center. It's everywhere. And then the ideas are layered on, which is a very different approach, and one that clearly mirrors the College Board's framework and the way that those skills are built through a spiraled and scaffolded approach. With ideas and arguments, as we've mentioned before, we support teachers from day one, from beginning to end. And whether that's the teacher's edition with the wraparound notes, with the connections to the AP framework will be noted in there, annotated text for teachers where We've designed these bell ringer activities for teachers to use, sort of like what we call the rabbit out of the hat. Some of the tricks that we've used as teachers and that teachers have told us throughout our workshops that really work with students. So they'll see these supports built into the Teachers Edition. In addition, there will be a teacher's resource guide that has all of the reproducibles, the graphic organizers, and answers to student questions, so that if they're not fully familiar with the text, this will help them support that text the first time they teach it. So we are committed to making sure that teachers have the support they need to deliver a course that's meaningful for their students.
And these reproducible graphic organizers that run through all of the skill development will be indicated within the book with an icon that just will let them know that there's a handout available and it can be reproduced, and the students can write directly on that page, and accessible also through the online format as well.
We know that the students that we teach today, maybe not the students we taught when we first started teaching, but are really tech savvy, much more tech savvy than we are. Definitely. And so there will be an EPUB for a digital version of the textbook for those students that they can access through their any of their devices, phone, iPad, tablet, whatever they have. But in there will be additional links of support that send them outside of the resources to hear speeches delivered in a digital format.
There might be videos that they could watch.
And more support.
Yeah, certainly just a clarification on some kind of terminology that they might need as well.